When I was growing up, my father used to call television the boob tube or the idiot box, depending on what kind of mood he was in. The implication was that it made you an idiot. His generation truly believed that, and probably are responsible for a lot of the stupid programming we've been exposed to over the last 20 years. But as a writer, are you studying what you're watching? Let's talk about that, episode 79 of Horrible Writing. That will never work. You can't publish that. Seriously? Don't. Oh my God, that's really bad. You probably should find other hobbies. You ever learn how to spell? Stop. Be happy. Well, you're an idiot. Don't bother. I've seen better. Do you really want to? And my third grade. Give it up. Welcome to Horrible Writing, the rawest, most candid, in-your-face writing show on the interwebs because none of us have time to suck. Let's do this. Hey everybody, happy spring. First day of spring, recording the new episode. And we've broken the warmest days on record in Washington State for 2 straight days. I imagine today will be the 3rd straight day. Thanks a lot, global warming. In that context, it's really hard to sit inside in an office and write. So I hope all of you have the ability or can create the ability to kind of change up your writing environment. Though I am a proponent of, having your writing space because it gets you in that habit-forming mindset, which can make you much more productive. But you can't do a whole lot of television watching while you're on the run outside, regardless of how nice the weather is. I don't know many of us who don't watch television at all, though I do know some people who at least claim to not watch much of it. And I get that. I don't get to watch a lot, but I do try to make a point of doing it at night, toward the end of my night, usually around 8 o'clock-ish. I don't watch it literally all day long. I don't even turn on the morning news when I wake up in the morning. I get up, get my coffee, and get in front of the computer and start writing every single day, right? 0 word count days. Never have a day pass where I don't have a word count, regardless of how small that word count is, every single day. At night, I need time to decompress from writing, from working, from dealing with life stress, and from thinking about story ideas throughout the day. I need a little bit of time just to get dumb again. And I'm not real big on video games and all that stuff. And, our friend circle is small and busy, so we don't have a lot of social time except for, maybe the odd night every few weekends type of stuff. So one of the things I do to stay current, not about necessarily the news, but to an extent, but also the way people talk, interactions, and the way I expose myself to the world is through television programming. Now, when I say television, literally all inclusive. If it's on that square or that rectangular thing on your wall, it's television. I don't care if it's Hulu, Netflix, satellite, whatever. Television. Let's just be simple. And there are some real good reasons why I do it. So I ask you, how much do you watch? What do you watch? And why do you watch it? Think about those things. 1, how much do you watch? Are you watching too much and it's getting in the way of your writing? Or the flow of your own unique creativity, your own unique voice? Something to think about. But when you watch, what are you watching and why are you watching that thing? Even in my brain dead time, I still find purpose in what I'm writing or what I'm watching because it directly affects what I'm writing. I asked the Horrible Writing Writer Support Group on Facebook this very same question because I had that thought come to me when I was catching up on Survivor. Many of you know that Many of you probably don't watch it at all anymore, or you used to, but I'm still fascinated by it. Yeah, I know it's reality TV. It's, it can be trashy. It's not as trashy as a lot of the other ones, or even close to a lot of the other ones, but I had an epiphany while I was watching a recent episode about human psychology and why people do what they do. Now, in my professional life, I teach leadership, and one of the components we teach is human motivation. It's one of the curriculum blocks that we've got to teach. Motivation, getting your employees to do what you want them to do. But one of the things in my personal life and professional, dealing with people, that I've realized is that, especially non-writers, that people are convinced they know why other people do things that they do. And I'm here to tell you, if you think like that, you're absolutely wrong. None of us know why somebody does something. We don't know. And we can't even argue that we know because the person told us. No, the person told us a justification, a rationalization, their reasoning, but that in itself may not be true. It may be partially true. It may be a complete fabrication because they don't want you to know their real reasoning, because it ain't none of your business, right? We don't know. To know is to have certainty, and we don't have that. We can speculate, we can guess, and we can deduce. That's all we can do. And when I watched Survivor, I watched that part of human psychology, the motivation for why people do what they do on that show, the alliances and the allegiances that they form and why they form them, who they bond with and why they bond with them, why they lie to someone to manipulate them for their own gain, etc., etc. All of these human motivational factors, these psychological factors that go into it. And then to watch, for those of you who are familiar with it, when they get to the tribal council portion of each episode, which is essentially, for those of you who don't watch, everybody on a losing team has to come together and vote one of those people off the island. They got to go bye-bye. And I know that is heavily edited, but at the same time, those players don't know what is going to be asked of them, and they're reacting. So you get to see the deliberate, analytical brain of that person and of all of those players. And then, of course, the animalistic reactionary brain when they're sitting there, in whether it's tribal council or something happens back at their camp and it's an emotional flashpoint. But you get to watch people. Now, me as a teleworker, I don't ever see my coworkers. I haven't seen them in 5 years. I don't even get to see my students. It's all over the internet. I'm the one on camera, not them. So my interpersonal interactions are very limited when it comes to face-to-face stuff. And I want to stay current with what it means to be a human being. So besides getting out of the house or interacting with our friend circles, one of the things I do is seek out that element of television, whatever it is, Survivor being today's example, because I need to stay current. I need to watch it. I need to understand other people's motivations, their reasoning, their flashpoints, their areas of sensitivity or hypersensitivity, etc., etc. Character development, ideas, or understanding the world from someone else's perspective. All of those things come out of me watching Survivor. Then, as a writer with an aim of selling books, the second part of what I study when I watch Survivor is how Jeff Probst and NBC packages it. Because we know it's heavily edited. There's all kinds of stuff they show us and all kinds of stuff they choose not to show us because they want to create a perception in the viewer's mind. They need to create heroes and villains. They need to create drama. They need to create compelling story. They can't just throw together 3 days worth of filming without rhythm and rhyme, right? There is a purpose to what they're doing and the way they present it as they present it. Even the arguments at the end where they've got to vote somebody off, they'll sit there. I listened to Jeff on a podcast a couple of years ago, so I don't remember what time frame he said, but those tribal councils are something like an hour long, hour and a half long, something like that. We see 5 minutes. So I don't care if it's 30 minutes or 45 or 60 or 90. They take a ton of actual content and strip 98% of it out, give us the sexy stuff, and that's what we see. As a creative, again, with commercial aspirations, now I don't expect myself to fully make a living on writing anytime soon, if ever, because I don't write romance and I don't have an inclination to write romance. So I don't write the genre that really is what people can live off. Even the people who are writing other things, a lot of them have pen names. Here's a dirty little secret about the indie market. A lot of them have pen names where they write romance because that's the payday. The other author name is what they do for love. Nothing wrong with it. It just is what it is. But I need to study how they package Survivor, why they do it like they do. Everybody's got their reasoning. When I asked the group, I got some great responses. Christopher Grunland, he was on this show, episode 38, something like that. He talked about detectorists and the quiet moments in the show and how the characters can carry those quiet moments, which is compelling for him because it's not really a plot-driven show. Bell now writes fantasy. So Bell goes out and looks for those types of shows. Used to do Mysteries of the Unknown, mysteries, abandoned stuff, and now she's getting in more into the urban exploration, metal detecting thing in real life. So it goes and finds that kind of programming out there because it has that bent that inspires her. Rick Coast, he talked about writing as therapy, like in episode 20 of this show. Watches Star Trek. And Rick is also an audio dramatist. A lot of good stuff out there for him. Go find that. But the philosophical and the forward-thinking element of that, I mean, these are great little elements why people watch what they do. Kenya Summerer talked about Firefly and how Kenya goes into analytical mode about the history of how these people came to be and communicate their way. For Jane Dorothy Warner, it's about Stargate and what the imagination can do. Bethany Rose Smith had a good one. Good Girls, never seen it myself, but the reasoning, they never take the most obvious action. As writers, how big of a epiphany is that if you've never had that before? We get real lazy with this kind of stuff. When we outline, or those of you who are pantsers, and you're flying along and it makes sense in your head, but are your readers out in front of you already anticipating that? Something to think about. Studying TVs and movies, what did they do that shocked you? Seventh Sense type of stuff. Or Sixth Sense, right? Whichever one. Tiffany Grassman has one on Netflix called You, which is told in the second person because Tiffany's, like a lot of us, not feeling really strong writing second person perspective. So, studying it through television program. Author Kate McGinn talked about the Jack Ryan show that's on Amazon because it reminds her to incorporate character quirks and keep action moving forward. So you can see, just within our group, in a single post, I was able to come up with a huge diverse range of reasons of why other people, besides myself, watch TV and what they look for. So from now on, while you are watching any kind of programming, it's all fine and dandy to consume for enjoyment. I'm not going to judge you for that. I do it too. But if something particularly moves you for one reason or another, instead of going and chasing a new thing that you get to just submerge yourself in, what about going back and rewatching that thing that you loved and starting to pick it apart. We are visual creatures. We consume media visually at astronomical levels. We are conditioned to story through that medium. It affects us, all of us, except for those who literally never watch movies and television, which I would be surprised to find more than a handful of people in the world, or in the developed world at least, to be fair. But beyond that, that's how we are influenced. That's how we're conditioned. So if you are selling to the developed world and developed markets, you're selling to people who are conditioned to consume entertainment in a certain way. And we can have an argument about tropes and all that stuff later. But the reality is, writers in our development, is it's something we need to think about. And if you're not studying that medium, I'm going to urge you to do exactly that. And then let me know what you discover about yourself and your writing. Now, a show note before we get going. Yes, this is another episode without an interview. And I know you like those interviews. I like them too. I do have a couple side projects going on where I'm trying to fundraise for my audio drama. And it has necessitated that I get involved in other audio drama, fiction, podcasting. I have a epic medieval high fantasy that I'm going to produce starting this spring, early summer, called Crown of Thieves. And it's going to be exclusive to patrons only. So if you're enjoying this show and you would like me to continue to do it and be able to invest in it and actually do more content, consider becoming a patron. Depending on your level, you could get other exclusives, but Crown of Thieves is one of the exclusives besides getting the extended versions of this podcast. Each and every episode now, patrons get extended versions. After I'm done here with this topic, I'm going to continue on to the patron version of the show. But you also get that, and even at higher levels and not much higher levels, you get exclusive monthly stories. I gave $2 and up a month, not episode, per month, $2 and up per month, patrons a flash fiction piece this week, $3 and up, get all that stuff, plus a choose your own adventure audio drama called You, which I created well before I found out there was a TV show for it with the same name. Anyways, so there's a ton of stuff out there. Come and join it. But again, like I said in the previous episode, the interviews aren't going away. I just need to be able to tackle some of my projects to include the books to get them on schedule. We are also including new features here. So I'm going to be doing reverse interviews. If you're interested, check out, I've got an episode. I'm not going to give away what number it is yet, because there are some logistical things that I need to do. But a listener of the show and a cool member of our Horrible Writing Writer Support Group Facebook community pitched this idea to me, and she's going to be the first interviewee of me on the show. So it'll be reverse interviews. If you're interested in interviewing me on this show, we'll use your audio, your name or pen name, your author website. So you'll get a chance to kind of get some exposure on the show. You can record 3 to 5 questions and send me those questions in audio format at paulsadingproductions@gmail.com, and I will get those in a future episode as well. But in addition to that, we're going to start doing roundtables. So we have a roundtable coming up with a couple authors from the group, and I will have more details on that in the future. So make sure that you do join us over there on that page so that we can actually, have a little bit of fun with you in between, and you can start getting involved in these and the monthly writing challenge, which will the writing challenge has already been going on, but the podcast from it, the stories we tell, starts next month. So, you want some more exposure for you, your art, your stories, and your other stories? The stories we tell is going to be the way to do that. So make sure you come over and join us there. Just go into Facebook, Search for Horrible Writing Writer Support Group, and you will find us. So until episode 80, keep being epic. This has been Horrible Writing, and hopefully after this episode, you suck less than you did at the beginning. I am Paul Sadin, your host extraordinaire. You can find me over on the Twitterverse at Writing Horrible and over at paulsadin.com/horrible-writing. Until next time, suck less.